We are now on Worksheet 9, and in Worksheet 9 we discuss linear regression. In a linear equation we have a slope and a y-intercept, and notice we have our given equation in our practice problem that is in slope-intercept form. It's y equals mx plus b, where in this case, in this equation, the 2 would be the slope, that's the m, and the y-intercept is the -3. We would write it as 0, -3. When it's written in this form, it makes it easier to fill in x values into the equation and find your y values. So notice we're going to take our equation and plug in -2 for x, and then we're going to work this. Now you can either type this in the calculator or you can do this part by hand, because 2 times -2 is -4. -4 minus 3 is -7. Be sure if it says to write in ordered pairs, you put the parentheses. If you don't put the parentheses, you'll miss it. So be sure that you include those. Notice you will come and plug in -1 into your equation and work it, and 0 all the way down. Then you're going to take and you'll graph your points on this plane. If you need to, print this paper off, plot the points, and take a picture with your phone. And then you can upload the document if you need to using the pictures. But be sure that you take the picture and upload it into the Dropbox. You can do the document and fill in the information by typing, and then if there's a graph or something, you can do an image and upload that also. So just let me know however you put it in there. The next page of this handout, let me get to the second page. The next page is trying to show you some connections between finding your slope and writing out your equation. So notice this says, and we've had this before, but the slope of a line, this is the equation for the slope. It's y2 minus y1, x2 minus x1. And so the slope of the line is the ratio of the rise to the run. That means if I'm looking at my slope, I have a point on the line, I can go up and over and find another point on the line. So what they're going to ask you to do is take some points. It says use the table, which that's talking about the table that you previously had on this page, on the first page. Take this table, okay? Whatever points you come up with for when you worked 1 and 2. So notice when you're doing the point 1 and 2, this one and this one, you're going to take your ordered pairs and you're going to use those ordered pairs to fill in this information that's on this page. So notice they want you to take and write your ordered pair for 1, ordered pair for 2. Remember, this would be the x1, this would be the y1, whatever you come up with here. This would be x2, and this would be y2, whatever you come up here. You're going to take and now put them in these blanks. So you're going to tell which one's x1, what's y1, what's x2, what's y2. Once you get those, then they're going to ask you to calculate the slope using this formula. Now I showed you in a previous video that your slope you want to take and write set to parentheses with a minus between them, and then you'll do the same on this, and then you'll fill in your values, and then you'll work it. So make sure you do your slope. Now notice, when observing the slope of a line that goes to the right has a positive slope, and a line that goes to the left or down to the right has a negative slope. So let me sketch a little picture here of what I'm talking about. If you have an axis like this, and then you come and you have a line that goes like from here to here, that is positive slope. Okay? If I have an axis that looks like this, and my line leans to the left, like that, that's negative slope. notice it would be on the negative side of the number line. This would be on the positive side. Okay, so back up here, there it says, was the slope of your line that was drawn in part B negative or positive? So you're going to see if your slope comes out negative or positive. And then it says, explain your answer. That means if you get a negative, tell which direction the line is slanting. If you get a positive, tell which direction. Okay. Now, the y-intercept is the point where a straight line crosses the y-axis. So if I was looking at these graphs, notice my y-intercept would be right where it crosses the y-axis. This one would be here. Okay. So when I'm dealing with the y-intercept, okay, it is the point where your x is 0. So what you want to do is go back over here. When you find this point right here, this one, whatever that point is, that's going to be your y-intercept. You'll have to look at your order pair once you fill in that. So notice they will ask you to now fill in your y-intercept. So you've got your slope up here, you got your y-intercept here. Now you're able to actually write an equation. And it says the slope-intercept form of an equation is written with the slope and the y-intercept. It's written as y equals mx plus b. What they're going to ask you to do is whatever your slope is, you're going to fill in the equation. So you're going to have y equals whatever your slope is, x, plus whatever your y-intercept is. And then they want you to look and compare it to your original equation that looks like this. Okay, and then you can read the rest of that part. And then it talks about an application in this. Notice you're going to learn about in StatCrunch how to draw some linear equations in Unit 4 in the last part, and it's using regression, and the StatCrunch is actually doing what you did by hand here. And then make sure that you read this last example. Notice they're going to ask you to interpret the slope. Well, you got to read the problem first and see what it's talking about. And notice this is in the form of y equals mx plus b. Remember, when we're talking about slope, you have a numerator and denominator. So we can take the slope and write it in this form. Looks like this. And so you need to think about the top part is the y values and the bottom part is the x values. So you want to read your problem up here at the top and determine what is my x, what is my y. And then read through the example. There's a lot of things to read, but then they're going to ask you to interpret one of these. They want you to pick the slope out, okay, and interpret just like it is right here, okay, at the other example. And then it said, ask you something about the y-intercept. Well, notice, if appropriate, interpret the y-intercept. Be sure to read through all this and then answer this question down here at the bottom. So this is the last handout of handout 9, worksheet 9 on linear regression.